Good morning again, CLC. Welcome to another wonderful Sunday. We hope everyone had a beautiful week, and we are happy to have you here to welcome in this coming week with you virtually. With that, you know that we love and miss you all. We're sending out love, we're sending out hugs, we're sending out gratitude. Thank you again for being here. And with that, I invite everyone to calm your body, calm your mind, relax in this moment, and be here now. There is one life, one mind, one spirit of health, of well-being, of vitality, of strength, of love. It is in the midst of me, just as it is in the midst of each and every one of you. I am so deeply grateful for knowing this love, for feeling this love, for being here and a part of the one with you. Universal love enfolds me. Universal wisdom inspires me. Universal spirit enlightens me. Universal power encircles me. I am one, and all is well. As we begin the inner healing process, let me invite you to relax in quiet confidence, opening yourself to the miracle-working higher power. Now symbolize the unity of your thinking and feeling nature by touching your chest with your right hand, and let my words act as your own for your own inner acceptance and receptivity. I acknowledge that there is a power, intelligence, and wisdom greater than my own. I am in the midst of it, and it is in the midst of me, sensitive and responsive to my every thought, word, action, and feeling. I now make this true for myself by saying aloud, I acknowledge. Acknowledging the higher power working through my life, I admit that I am personally responsible for solving my own problems while being guided and assisted by something greater than myself. As I am ready to surrender the conflicts of my ego to the wisdom of the infinite presence, I simply speak these words. I surrender.
I surrender.
Knowing that forgiveness is the key to unconditional love and the feeling of heaven, I now unconditionally forgive anyone and everyone who has ever injured me in any way, real or imagined. And I now forgive myself for all my mistaken judgments and their resulting actions. From my deepest level of understanding, I now say, I forgive.
I forgive.
Realizing that I continually experience the effects of my own thinking, I now choose to allow this higher power to recreate me deeply, filling my mind with thoughts that are only constructive, positive, loving, and beautiful. I call upon this divine inflow by stating aloud, I choose.
I choose.
I now center upon that one special idea that I'm willing to accept as real for me in this coming week. Visualizing the idea as already acted upon and brought to pass. In seeing my idea become a fact of my experience, I enjoy the happiness and peace of my thought fulfilled and gratefully speak these words. I accept.
I accept.
Knowing that I have an everlasting place in the midst of the power that sustains all creation, as well as the support of all those around me, I I allow myself to relax in the peace of fulfillment and gratitude and say, I release.
I release.
Now, in my mind's eye, I envision the presence of someone near and dear to me. This could be a friend, a family member, a teacher or a mentor, someone who has touched my life in deep and loving ways. Someone who may not physically be present in the room with me. I turn toward that image in my mind and I say, I am grateful for the good in your life.
I am grateful for the good.
I now open my eyes, turn to the people around me, whether in the room or virtually, and joyfully speak to each and every one of them. I am grateful for the good in your life.
Good morning and welcome to the studios of KCLC. WCLC on the East Coast. Well, we're here to bring you another happy Sunday from Creative Life Spiritual Center with our musicians, Brian Schwanitz and Jeffrey Oshman, and Reverend Lisa Ryan and Daniel Mercadell on video. And this reminds me of Romper Room. Do you remember Romper Room? Some of you were old enough to. When I was a very little kid, I watched it. The woman who hosted it, she talked to the camera and said, I see you out there. I see you out there. There's Billy, and then there's Susie, and there's Mary. And I'd sit there and I'd go, and never called my name. So I'm not going to call your names, you beloveds of Creative Life, because I don't have all your names alphabetically memorized, or I would, except for Ruth and Carthel. Good morning, Ruth and Carthel, and welcome to this service, where today I'm going to start a series based on my interpretation of Alan Watts's new book. It's a collection of his talks curated by his son Mark. If you're familiar with his work, good. If you're not, you should be. And it's on YouTube. A lot of his lectures, the audio, and in some cases the video also of his lectures at Pacifica Graduate Institute, UC Santa Cruz, the various places that he taught. I became aware of his work, as it turned out, not long after he left the planet. In the late 70s, I read a book called The Wisdom of Uncertainty, and I was an uncertain young man, and so that looked like an appealing idea, that I didn't have to become certain, that actually being uncertain was a wise thing to do. So that isn't actually what the book is about, that's where I went with it. And then right after that, the book on the taboo against knowing who you are. This is an original thinker, and I love original thinkers, and I'm not going to give you his whole bio now, you can look it up for yourself, but just a fascinating individual who believed in the patterning intelligence of the universe, the way Ernest Holmes does and talks about, and I agree with, that there's not so much a plan as there's a pattern. And the pattern expresses itself through symbols, and through events and occurrences in life. And the point I want to especially make today, that's a good point to have at any time, but in light of recent circumstances and world conditions, is there's no difference between the spiritual and the material. The spiritual is not abstract, and the material is not solid. The material of things, as you know, is composed of an atomic structure vibrating at a certain rate that holds it together as a recognizable form. And so there's a bit of an abstraction to form. And the spiritual is a certain idea that is materializing itself. And so there's a solidity to the spiritual. They're two sides of the same coin. That's not even a good enough explanation, because it makes them sound like connected opposites, when in fact they're a stream, an unending flow. of creation. Spirit materializes, matter spiritualizes. You and I spiritualize matter, for instance, when we call it sacred. When we gather together, when we come together, as Eddie said in the song, for a time that we have consecrated to a certain value. This is how we are spiritualizing the material. We materialize the spiritual through the process of law or principle when we speak our word, and a certain form occurs that corresponds in its essence to the idea that we had, the feeling that we had about it. We're working in two realms at once, but they're really one realm. And everything is as real at the level of expression that it's having of itself now as it would be at a different level of expression. We say, when my dreams come true. You hear people say, well, my dreams come true, my dreams come true. And out in that driveway is my new car. And up in that building is my new office. And here beside me is my new partner. And when my dreams come true, I'll be able to show these things. I'll be able to demonstrate them, which means literally to show forth. But those conditions, those circumstances, those qualities are as real at the level of dreaming as they are at the level of demonstrating. And when you realize that, you have spiritual mastery. No one realizes it all the time about every situation, but the more you can realize it, the more mastery you have in your life. And you realize that what you're seeking, and you hear this out of me all the time, but what you're seeking ultimately is the feeling set that you have associated with certain practical outcomes. I'll feel better about myself when this happens. This is what we say, right? I'll like myself better. I'll approve of myself more. I'll consider myself more successful when I have this certain set of outcomes in front of me. So what is it I'm really seeking? A quality of feeling, a quality of being, not so much the forms. We finished Heartfelt Living recently. The weeks run together now, I'm sure for you as well as for me, and I don't remember if it was last Sunday or the Sunday before that we finished. It was the Sunday before, Danielle tells me. So it was 2 Sundays ago. And in there on that last gathering, we did a process that normally we do about week 4 or 5, but distributing the materials necessary to the students at a distance took a while. So we did this process where you take an item and it stands in for something you want. In this particular case, it's a car. It's a sports car. It's a red sports car. Some of you will recall this process. And we asked the class, what feelings do you associate with this? And it's a small group that we had this time, and they still came up with about 20 feelings. A larger group will come up with about 3 dozen. But feelings that are associated with this thing. It's dangerous, it's sexy, it's this, I'll feel a different way. If I had this thing, if I wanted this thing, I'd give myself permission to feel these different ways about myself. And we say, well, then this is what stands between you and the attainment of the thing, is the willingness to feel those certain ways. Alan Watts describes this in terms of the distinction between self and mind. He was a student of Eastern philosophy after being a student, or around being a student of Western philosophy. And one of the schools of thought that he pursued, he never fully went with it, but he pursued study of it and apprenticed himself to a number of teachers, was Zen Buddhism. And using that model, he created this template, kind of this idea, the self of you, and then the mind of you. Okay? The self of you is the eternal and infinite part. It's you, being you, however you are. The mind of you is what you think about that, how you feel about that, and how you interpret that, and how you judge that, and how you modify that and adjust that and so forth. We tweak our own characters, we move through life. We decide, I need to be a better person, or I need to stand up for myself, or I need to learn to take no for an answer, I need to have more of a sense of humor. You know, we're constantly adjusting ourselves as we go along. The back of all of that stands the self that we are. I thought of an analogy for you today doing this. If I put down the microphone, you could not hear me. If they turned off these computers, you could not see me. But I'd still be here, talking away, until somebody stopped me. You see? That's the distinction between self and mind, the expression of mind. We perceive certain things. We perceive them through our own filters. The back of that, there is the self, being the self. That's the spiritual nature that materializes. And when it materializes into matter, matter and material have the same root as meter or meet, M-E-T-E, or measure. So the material is measured out. The material is measurable, is it not? And so we're constantly measuring things. How big they are, how much they weigh, how long they last. We're measuring things along certain lines. And we're giving things value, which is another form, a subtler form, a more symbolic form of measurement. The chair is red, the chair is square, the chair weighs so many pounds. The chair costs so much money. The money is relatable to hours worked. The hours worked are relatable to the exertion, the expending of energy, and so on. And pretty soon you're off into a highly symbolic realm. We give value to things. We give value. And so everything we look at is measured in some way. And we give value to people. Are you a friend of mine? Are you an enemy of mine? Do I know who you are? Who do you remind me of? And so forth. So we're constantly assigning value. And that's why we seem to live in a material world. And when something spiritual happens, it seems supernatural. I read this article this week. Got me all worked up. I thought I gotta go talk to those two iPads on Sunday about this. Because I feel strongly about it. It was a certain publication saying, oh my God, they're trying to pray away the coronavirus. And it talked about a medical school where they've started a study where they've got X number of patients that are not being prayed for by strangers and X number of patients that are being prayed for by strangers to recover. And the tone of the article was snide, it was snotty, it was sort of non-religious, and okay, I get that, that's all right, I can take it, you know. And it was like, this is going to work, and these people are totally rejecting science, except they weren't, because this was happening in a medical school under the supervision of a highly degreed and credentialed medical person and their team, and so on and so on. And the experiment has just started, so there's no conclusion yet, you know, but they quoted the doctor who's in charge of all of this, who talked about, I believe in the supernatural. And I had to put down what I was reading. And I thought to myself, that's why it's not going to work. That right there is because you're dealing with this at the level of supernature. You don't need supernature. You just need bigger nature. Nature, right? Nature is where this happens. This is natural, the transference of thought into things. Prayer is a natural activity of managing the movement from the symbolic level to the recognizable material level that will work when you're willing to reassign values that you've given to the material. When you're willing to reassign the values that you've given to the material. This is why, on a real practical basis, when you think better of yourself, other people do too. When you think you're strong and you're capable and you're interesting and you're intelligent and you're lovable and you're all of these things, other people start to see you that way. And it's like, where did the other people go who didn't see this about me? Well, they just, in some cases, they just sort of moved on to the next person who reflected back to them what they expected to find there. And in some cases, it's the same people, but they've raised their value of themselves because of you. They see themselves in a brighter light because of their experience of being with you. And when you decide that life works for you, you decide that life has meaning for you, when you decide, most beautifully of all, really, where it's not so pragmatic, it's more mysterious, more magical, more musical. As Watts said, when you decide that the universe is an intelligent body of information, a symbolic body of information, all seeking to impart itself to you through patterns that draw you in, invite your attention, and invite your heart to open. When you see things that way, things change to that. So, this week and in the previous weeks, I've had questions from people about the COVID-19 and is it real? And is it real? And I'm here to tell you that yes, it is. Now, redefine reality. Redefine reality. It's real. And back of it, there's something real. And back of that, there's something real. And back of that, there's something that's never been measured. Something that's never been meted out. Where the experience of measurement and valuation has never been known. That's that perfect place we speak of, where you go, where nothing has ever been wrong. It's not because in that place is too wise or strong or kindly or good to judge things as wrong. It's because in that place there's no measurement taking place whatsoever. So it just sees it all as just so, which incidentally is the title of this new Alan Watts book, Just So, this collection of some of his later lectures. Just so, it just is. So, it just is. Now, the just is place, can you stay there? No, not really when engaged in the world, nor particularly would you want to. I go through, see, all y'all are just seeing me once a week now. You get Lisa every day, you get David every day, you get me once a week. So you don't know what I'm doing the rest of the time, do you? Oh, you get emails from me, you get texts from me, occasional phone call, I'm still there, you don't know what I'm doing. I go through a roller coaster of emotions through the week, like you do. In my hometown, there are 14,000 people that have left the planet because of this experience that's being had right now. 900 in Texas, 14,000 in my hometown, which is smaller than half of Harris County. 14,000, and that hurts me. So when I tell you the value of going to a place where nothing has ever been wrong, I'm not putting this out there from a place of somebody who stays there, who's just in that kind of wonderful cloud, pink cloud of all-knowing good. No, I crash and burn, and I claw my way back up there, as all of us do, because it's there, and it's real, and it works, and it has what I need. It's like oxygen to me to get back to that place where nothing's ever been wrong. So we grieve, and this thing is real, and this thing is real. And I went out the other day and gassed up the car. Car's not getting driven a lot, but I realized I needed to gas up the car. And when I got home, I scrubbed myself raw, because I had to touch this and this to navigate the transaction. And it's like, why am I doing that? I'm a religious scientist. Why am I doing this kind of crazy thing? Because I live in the material world. And it gives me one less thing to worry about if I do that. If I wear a mask, or actually I have a bandana, and it looks like I'm about to hold up the noon stagecoach, but if I wear my bandana, and if I wash my hands, and not just wash them like I'm used to, which is like, but wash them like a doctor does, where each surface, and between the fingers, and right down to the elbows, and all sort of thing. And if I do that, that's one less thing to worry about. I don't have to worry about it. Because if there was something on me, well, it's not there now. And that doesn't make me less of a spiritual being. It means that I voted to come into this world, and there's certain physical rules here, and I can't eat ground glass, and I can, there's a lot of stuff. I can't drink alcohol. A lot of you guys, are holding A lot with your quarantinis and stuff, a lot of you are holed up, half stupefied possibly as well, not creative life people necessarily, but the people you read about, doing this kind of, well, I can't do that kind of thing. I learned that. 35 years ago I learned that. Took me a few false fits and starts to learn it, but once I did, I got it. I can't do that. That's part of the physical life. So knowing that doesn't make me not a spiritual being. It doesn't make me enslaved to the world of form. It means there's certain things I abide by. I try to eat good food, and I try to breathe clean air, and drink fresh water, and all the rest of it. Also lock my car, also have insurance, also, you got a whole list of things you do, right? You carry documents around with you, proving this and proving that, certain things, in case anybody asks you can produce these things, right? It gives you less to worry about. That's the level on which these things are real. So they're telling us right now that there's this bug in the world, and some of our brothers and sisters have fallen to it. None here at Creative Life, but it's there. So is old age. And so are food allergies and hay fever and all the rest of it. At some level, these things are real. We don't say they're not. We say go from time to time where they've never been, because they've never been assigned the value of toxicity, or the opposite of that, which is what? Tonicity, being a tonic. They've never been assigned good, better, best. There's never been that assignment made. They exist as pure potential. Go to that place. Go to that place from time to time. And you'll have strength to face what's going on in the world. And you'll have strength to get through it and overcome it, and also to manifest that life of your dreams in solid, tangible form. Not because you have to anymore, because you've learned enough about yourself that you don't have to, but because you prefer to. And needs get changed into preferences. When you do that, you see, taking the heat out from under the thing. I no longer need this. I no longer need you. If you don't need people, the song, people who need people are the luckiest people in the world. No, they're not. People who need people are the neediest people in the world. When you need people, it's semantic, I grant you, but when you need people, you're missing part of yourself. When you prefer people, and man, when they blow the whistle, or shoot the gun off, or do whatever they're going to do to tell us that it's okay, and I know we're dribbling out of our homes right now, we're not into this spiritual center, and we won't for a while yet. We want you to be comfortable. In fact, let me say that now. I was going to say it later, but we want you to be comfortable here, and sitting apart and being, all concerned about the contagion is a distraction to you. It's not. Now you're at home and you're eating what you want, and you're wearing what you want, and you're relaxed and you're good, and you're getting the same music you get if you were here, and a talk, it's a great prayer, and all the rest of this. So when we have you back here in the room, you'll be comfortable here in the room. We'll be able to eat meals together, and do all that kind of thing. So that time is coming. But until that time does, know that the power that you seek is right where you are. Know that the explanations, the patterning intelligence you seek is right where you are. Some New Age writers now say, oh, here's what all this means. I'll close with this. That's another thing I sit there with, and it's like, I can't wait to talk to the camera about this on Sunday. Don't let anybody tell you what this means. Me included. Maybe me most of all. Don't let anybody tell you what this means. You're here to decide what it means for you. That's why you're here. There are no philosophical experts who see the big picture of all of this and see it objectively, because all are seeing it through their own perceptive filters, which is not to say the information that they have is bad or wrong, but it's personal to them. It's not your information. What you'll take away from this will be unique to you. And it goes to why you're here in this life at all. You're not here to have a repetition of experience. You're here to have something stand alone, meant just for you. So in the week to come, until we gather again and speak more of Watts's work and get into some more of his deep thinking and his original thinking on this, what I'd like to encourage you to do as a spiritual practice, and see right there, why not make it a material practice? Okay, as a spiritual material practice, material spiritual practice. In the week to come, it's just that. Try not to distinguish between the two. Try not to get all squinty-eyed and look at things and now, is that a spiritual thing? Is that a spiritual thing to think? Is that a spiritual thing to say? Is Brian over here a spiritual being or is he a material being? I don't know. Let's size him up. Let's measure him. Let's weigh him. Let's value him. No. Instead of doing that, falling into that habit, see it all as just so. It is what it is. I am that I am. It is all just so. It is all just becoming. And in this present moment, how do I feel? Where is myself? Back of my mind, back of my thinking. Let's go there now in treatment. Back of myself, back of my mind, is the one from which I have issued as the experience that this one is having in this world at this time by means of me. That causes me to appear, to erupt in the world as the self that I am, the identity, back of all labels, the eternal soul, back of all roles and functions and purposes. You've heard it said, I am more than what I do. This is true. I am more than what I want. I am more than my past, my present, my future. I'm more than any valuation whatsoever. I am simply me. Just so me. And that self now leads me to the mind. The one mind expressing through me and the use that I make of that one mind. As I do value and quantify and qualify myself and every experience. I choose now to lift the weight of judgment off of myself and therefore off of my world. For I judge no one else harshly without first judging myself so. And because I am not my roles and my purposes and my functions and my outcomes and so on, no judgment need be made of myself in the light of those values. Just so I am that I am. And because I lift the weight of my own judgment against myself, so naturally and correspondingly it's lifted in my judgment of anyone and everyone else. And with benign regard, I view my world and every occupant of it. And those I disagree with are simply the recipients of a body of opinion that I've held. And those that I adore are simply the recipients of a body of opinion I've held, and everybody in between falls somewhere on that scale. But I realized I put them there. I placed them there in my own imagination and nowhere else. For each is free. Each being is free. Possessing and expressing the same freedom that I myself desire and now accept for me. Now peace fills my heart, and I'm willing to have it be there. And I recognize that from time to time it'll leak out. And that's all right too, because I know what to do to restore it. And each day, little by little, I'm getting more and more centered within myself, more and more aware of my power to choose and to claim, less and less absorbed with my own condition, more and more compassionate and outward looking about the conditions of all my sisters and brothers on the planet. I am so grateful to this one life, this one essence that has given me myself and my mind and my destiny. So grateful. And wrapped in that gratitude, I release this word now into law, calling it done. And so it is.
So it is.
All right, well, we are coming to the end of this, and we are thrilled that we can do this for you, that we have the ability and the technical team, and the willingness of our musicians. So Danielle wanted me to remind you, because she forgot, we are still moving forward with the food drive at the end of the month. I believe it's on the 29th? 30th. I don't even know what day of the week it is, much less the date. So Saturday, May 30th, we are still moving forward on the food drive. As we get more information, we will give you the details on what that's going to look like. We are going to take all of the safety measures, the masks and the gloves and all of that. So as we get closer to that, we will let you know what that looks like. But please keep that on your calendars, because we still need volunteers. Lots of volunteers. All right. So we're going to wrap this up. We're going to wrap it up with a fountain of peace. I encourage you, wherever you are right now, get comfortable. Relax and take a nice deep breath. Just breathe it all the way down. Take one more nice deep breath. And as you release the breath, relax and go into that place where nothing is measured. Go into that place of peace. Go into that place of love. Knowing that there is one life, one power, one love. And it is that love that flows through each and every one of us. And as it flows through us, it becomes the power of possible. So that anything is possible. Healing is possible. Peace is possible. Needs becoming preferences are possible. John Denver songs are possible. And as you allow that love to flow into each and every cell of your body, allow it to overflow so that it flows into the people around you, both those close with you and those at a distance. Allow it to flow out into the rest of the world, knowing that it comes from an inexhaustible supply, because it is coming from a place where nothing is measured. And as you breathe in that love and breathe out that love, know that we love you. Know that we are here for you. Know that we are always with you, because spirit is what we are. And I relax, release, know that it is so, and wish you into the best week possible. And so it is.
Say with me now, something wonderful is happening through me.
Something wonderful is happening through me.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my
I
body.
feel it in my mind.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in everything I am.
I feel it in everything I am.
I choose it.
I choose it.
I trust it.
I trust it.
I use it.
I use it.
And I love it.
And I love it.
And so it is.
So it is.